So it makes no sense to say that.
Gotcha.
It makes sense to
Next
me.
one
Because
is
agnostic
Snake
is
was
about
right.
knowledge.
I'm so sorry to keep moving as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Snake
He
was
keeps
right.
saying that, but I don't think he understands the difference between epistemological
And I don't
propositions.
think you understand
Snake was
that.
right,
I don't
said-
think our audience understands how.
Go ahead, James.
I've never had. I love you guys' gusto. You guys have a lot of gusto.
Go ahead, James.
Snake was right. Says atheists don't necessarily accept not P. They reject specific claims for P because they can meet the burden of proof, or they can't meet the burden of proof. Sorry about that. Atheists don't necessarily. So this is starting over. Atheists don't necessarily accept not P. They reject specific claims for P because they can't meet the burden of proof. That doesn't describe agnosticism. I think
That is evidential agnosticism.
Okay.
No, it's not.
And then writer
Yeah,
John
it literally
Buck,
is. Go look it up.
Writer John Buck, thanks for your super chat. Says another $5 for a great topic and great debate. Good job, you guys. So thanks so much for your encouragement, and yeah, all credit to the debaters. This has been really fun to listen to. I've enjoyed it. And Stefan Steen, thanks so much for your super chat. Who says source Dillahunty 316 atheist equals non-theist. And not sure who that's
Yeah,
for.
the problem with that is I have logical proof that means rocks are atheist, which I think is absurd.
Gotcha. Sigifredo Saravia, thanks for your super chat. He says, is it okay in philosophy to put a p-value in everything?
I don't know what that means. P just means proposition. That's all. That's all it means.
You got it. Josh Brister, Apologist Supreme, is back. He says, debating Graham Oppie on March 19th, Tuesday, on Red Pill Religion.
Yeah, I heard.
That's going to be interesting. We are excited for it. Normally I wouldn't plug it, but since it was a super chat, I'll honor the super chat. So Josh, I hope it goes well. I hope that you have a productive conversation.
I like Oppie.
Yeah, I've heard
Nice
nothing
guy.
but good things. Yeah. Sully Sullivan, thanks for your super chat. Says, Steve, when you say the non-cognitivist doesn't believe, quote, you with an asterisk are making the category error. They don't,
No,
quote unquote, not believe or quote unquote believe.
Both. See, I'm not making a category, and trust me. Go ask the logistician if you think that I am. I've had this discussion numerous times with them. Okay, so I'm not making the category error by saying that atheists lack a belief, theological cognitivists lack a belief. They're in the same set. They're in the set of all things that lack a belief. Okay, but an atheist is now saying that anything that lacks a belief is an atheist, which means that you have a non-cognitivist position being labeled as a cognitivist one. That's the category error. It's not that complicated.
It's a really interesting question. That's got me
Don't have to.
thinker. And then Edward Marquez asks, is a newborn human baby considered an atheist or agnostic? If
Neither.
Before I go in, that's the very first thing that came into my head, and it's wonderful that you brought that up, because I think a baby is probably a better example than a rock. The only reason why I would say a rock is not an atheist is because I define an atheist as a person who does not believe in a God or God. But people who make that, who bring up the rock, is trying to bring up the understanding that non-belief is non-belief. A rock doesn't have a brain, so it doesn't believe. And that's the argument they're making. But a baby makes more sense. No, a baby can't speak, so he can't really articulate what he believes or doesn't believe. But I think it's fair to say that all theist claims will fall short to the understanding of a baby. So a baby would be an atheist because they've never heard the claim of a God. It just doesn't believe. You don't have to hear the claim at all to be an atheist.
All right, let me fully disagree with that. First of all, I agree with Graham Oppie on this. Dr. Oppie calls babies innocent. You cannot assign a theological position to a baby because babies have not evaluated the claim.
You don't have to be assigned.
Let's just give him a chance.
Stop interrupting me, please. You're saying because of your
Stop being dishonest.
Okay, let's.
And again, you keep on insinuating I'm dishonest when I'm telling you facts. You can go look up. These are material facts. Graham Oppie argues, and I agree with him, that babies are innocent. They haven't evaluated the proposition. Agnostics require an evaluation. You have to literally suspend judgment. If you have the argument that babies are non-theist, which is fine, theist or not theist, right? That is a dichotomy. You can say babies are non-theist. I have a blog on this, again, on 3am Philosophy, www.greatdebatecommunity.com. You can go find this. The most you can say about a baby is that they're non-theist. If you assign not theist to be an atheist, such you're making a dichotomy of atheism and theism, then everything that's not a theist, including rocks, quarks, chairs, are now atheist, into that type of schema. This is what I find to be absurd. You can accept that. I don't accept that because I think it's an absurd schema. But you're making a definitive argument that babies are atheist when a theist could make the same argument that they're theist because of Romans 1. If you want to accept that paradigm, you want to accept that schema, then you have to allow theists to make their argument. I don't accept either
schema. You're not understanding my position.
Yeah.
I do understand your position. I've been doing this a very long time.
No, you don't understand my position.
I really do.
I've been saying this from the very beginning, that atheism is not a claim. A baby's not making a
You
claim.
just assert that. All right, James.
This is not a claim.
Just to move
You don't
through.
have to make the claim
to move
either
through
way.
as many as
You don't
possible.
have to hear the
Good
proposition.
luck, James.
You don't have to
I
know
got
about the proposition.
I got to move. I'm so sorry to keep moving
Go ahead.
through the questions. We got a super chat that just came in. Thanks so much, Chad Eckerd, for your super chat. And I think, I'm not sure if this is a challenge. I think they're maybe challenging in a friendly way. They said, I want to take a polite position against Steve. So if it's a challenge, we'd love to host it. Otherwise,
What's position wants to take?
I would guess he's like arguing again in the same topic, but I'm not sure. Or maybe he just a position of politeness.
Email James on it and give me your what you want to talk about.
We'd love to have you, Chad. So thanks so much for that super chat. And the next question, Stickman Sam asked, question for Steve: would agnostics count as functional atheists, i.e., living their lives as though there's no God?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, functional atheism is the way that it's described. Now, again, I don't use these terms myself, but the way a functional atheist would be is somebody who just lives their life like there's no God. That's fine. But I'm also a functional. Yeah, I mean, well, no, I guess one would be. Yeah. So because they don't believe, right? So, but again, going back to that whole argument of if you don't accept either proposition, God exists or God does not exist, you're weak theist, you're weak atheist. Yeah. These are different schemas, but yeah, that's generally what functional atheism would be construed as. Yeah.
Gotcha. Stephen Steen, thanks so much for your super chat. Who said just because James is such a good moderator, that means a lot. Thanks so much, Stephen. We're glad to have you here. And I have to say, I'll say it quickly so we can get to more questions. But you have no idea how many people in the super chat help with ideas and just new ways of moderating, like suggestions. And even the criticisms, I really appreciate. It's been so helpful. So. Thanks for that. And Stickman Sam, so I'm going to skip over a few of these so we can try to get to as many different people as we can. J.R. Ammon asked for both speakers, why is this important to you? What's at stake? Why does the issue get emotionally charged?
I can answer that in 3 seconds. I like to have a coherent framework. I like to be consistent. And if I think that if atheism is going to be the positions that take the higher epistemic value and to have higher reasoning and better logic and want to actually argue from a position of higher rationality, which they claim, they should have they should have a consistent system. And I think that defining things the way that Duke does is inconsistent. It produces obviously category errors that I've demonstrated, and also produces absurdities like rocks or atheists. And I don't find that to be very coherent. I like to have a coherent ontology. That's all.
You got it? How about you, Kim?
Okay. So, if this was about any other thing, it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like, I wouldn't get so passionate or angry about it if we're talking about what a word means and how we should use it. But the fact is, it's wrapped up in identity. So whether or not someone wants to be called something, people want to be known by that identity. And to make it clear, the people who are against that identity want to define it. So feminist, I think, is a good example. How many women have you ever met who believe that women should have equal rights in politics and equal rights in the workplace and should be treated equally, don't want to be called a feminist? Because they've been convinced by anti-feminists that feminism is bad. And I feel that's the same thing when it comes to being an atheist. There are institutions that want you to believe that atheism or atheists are evil and are falling into sin. And so they made it this campaign to convince everyone who calls themselves someone who lacks a belief in God are really agnostics, and that they sit in the fence and just don't have the knowledge. And all they need is the word of God to become a follower of Christ. It's not honest, it's nefarious, and it's not right. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm holding on to it for that sake alone. I'm breaking the word down. Theism, non-belief in God, not belief in God. They both don't believe in the God. So what's the big deal? The church makes it a big deal. Christianity makes it a big deal. Islam makes it a big deal. Atheists deserve to die because they don't believe. No, that's why I'm passionate about it.
Gotcha.
I am taking a definition. I assign it to myself, so I'm defining it myself.
Yeah,
And
that's
this is
strange because I don't believe either, and
I don't want to be defined by the Christian right, and I don't want to be defined by somebody who is being dishonest. Who I'm not going to get into a rant. But
Well,
that's
do you think I'm? Wait, do you think I'm dishonest for being agnostic? I don't believe either. I'm in the same boat as all non-believers. What am I being dishonest about?
We will,
because what you're saying is that a non-believer is not an atheist.
Sorry. I hate to interrupt.
All atheists are non-believers, dude. I don't know why.
Are you an atheist?
I hope you guys.
No, let me.
That's what I mean. You're being dishonest.
I have to explain this, James.
Wait,
I really do.
Okay, if it's like, I have to just be the absolute last thing, just because it was a dishonesty claim. I'll let Steve have like a minute or two, and then we have to wrap up. I'm so sorry.
Anybody can go look this up, and in my wrap up, I just have something I want my wrap up.
Okay.
This is a fact. You can go. This is a material fact. All atheists lack a belief. Not all who lack a belief are atheists. Period. That's a material fact. Well, you can say it's wrong, but it's a material fact.
No, it's not a material fact. You're wrong.
I'm so sorry. I think
people can go look at that. That's the truth.
Let's just give Steve literally 30 seconds, and then I have to go. I'm so sorry. I have to run to be somewhere at 4 Mountain Time.
All right. So this is our wrap up. I won't be very long.
If you're able to be super short and pithy.
Yeah, real quick. So wrap up. Duke has agreed that this is how it's used in philosophy. Therefore, people that use philosophical terms, like myself, I can lack a belief and not be an atheist per philosophical terms. Therefore, the statement, all atheists lack a belief, which is true. All agnostics lack a belief as well, but not all who lack a belief are atheists, because I'm holding to different definitions and different uses of these words than him. Therefore, by doing so, not all who lack a belief are atheists, because we can hold different definitions because these words are polysemous. And I want to correct him on one thing. Agnosticism has 3 things that it can mean: a normative epistemological position, which is similar to evidentialism or logical positivism by Thomas Huxley. It could be an epistemological proposition, which is, does the God knowledge, can you know of God, or can we know God exists? That's the epistemological proposition. And it's also the psychological state of being agnostic on the proposition. When you're saying something along the lines of I'm agnostic, we're talking about atheism and theism. We're talking about not having a position on either of those. So we're not talking about the epistemological proposition. We're talking about the psychological state of being agnostic on the proposition. And you're conflating those when you say agnosticism just deals with knowledge. You're making the mistake because you don't understand that agnosticism is just as polysemous as atheism, and it can be construed as one of those 3 different ways. And I have that blog. I'll put that in the live chat right now, called Agnosticism 3 Ways. I suggest people go read it so they understand what agnosticism can possibly mean. But how I'm using it is the third one of this, the position that you don't have position on the proposition. There you go.
I think with that, I'm so sorry. I think we have to have it end somewhere, and so I have to ask if we can end it there.
I rushed that because I know you're in a hurry.
I'm so sorry to do that to you guys. I'm willing to host you guys again. We could definitely have another. I think people would really enjoy it. I think people really enjoyed this overall. And so, and also given that we had Duke start, we'll just kind of let Steve wrap up with that. And so, thank you both. I can't express enough how much I appreciate the debaters coming here, and we know they're passionate. But so in other words, they intrinsically enjoy the debates, but we're glad they chose to intrinsically enjoy them with us today. And so I want to let you know, everybody, their links are down in the description. So Akim, or the Duke, has his Twitter down in the description, and then Steve has his YouTube channels down in the description. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you so much again to the debaters, though, just for giving your time here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, guys, and take care, and have a great Sunday.
Thanks, Duke. I'm looking forward to reading the comments later on this. All right, later, guys.
Take care, guys.